I want to show you how we can do some calculations in Excel to calculate compound interest and figure out how long it will take for us to get to a certain amount. You have a trust fund from Uncle Nick since the day you were born. He deposited $5,000 into a trust fund in your name, and it gets 6% APR compounded annually. So how much is the trust fund? How much is in the trust fund when you turn 18? How much is in the trust fund when you are 18 years, 10 months? And how much is in the trust fund when you turn 19? And how much when you turn 60? Plot the growth of the investment up to age 19. Plot the growth of the investment up to age 60. So we want to do quite a bit of analysis once we figure things out. So let's see what we know. We know first that the formula is F equals big P times the quantity 1 plus R over N raised to the NT power. Now we also know that our P, our big P, is going to be, for this problem, $5,000. And we know that the little r is going to be 0.06 to represent that 6%. And then we know the little n is going to be, it says annually, so we know the little n is supposed to be a 1. And then the time, we have a variety of times, so we're looking at a bunch of different times. So we could calculate all of these by hand, or we can do them in Excel and see how that works. So let's give Excel a try. Okay, so the first thing I want to do, all that information that we put across the top of our page here, I just want to put into Excel. So first thing I want to do is say, give it a title, and I'm going to say the starting value or present value. Tab over to the next cell, and I'm going to type in that $5,000 that we're starting with, and then the rate. So I can, in Excel, I can just type in the rate and put percent and put the percent sign, and it'll automatically calculate it as a decimal in the calculations, which is kind of cool. So it's 6%, so I'm going to type 6 and type in the percent sign and push enter. And then the number of compoundings, maybe call it num compoundings. And then I'm going to put in a 1 for that because my n is 1. And then the T I don't know, and the F I don't know. So I'm right now just going to leave those. So what we're going to do for this is look year by year and see how much money is in this account. So for the first year, we're going to I'm just going to go down a couple of cells, so I'm just pushing enter to move down. And now I want to create some sort of headings as I go across. So we'll put balance with interest. I decided that I really want to have a cell in the starting position, so I'm going to insert a cell here and shift things to the right. So I did a right click to get that little menu. And I want to start off with year number. Now I'm pretty sure that when I asked for the 18 years, back here where I asked for how much is in the trust fund when you're 18 years, 10 months, pretty sure it's the same amount as when you turned 18, right? Because we're not going to calculate, we're not going to give you part a year's interest if you didn't keep your money in for the full year. We only calculate once a year. So we're not going to count those. So all we need to do is figure out how many years it's been in for. So the first year when you're born, that's going to be year 0. And the balance is going to be, this is the first other Excel feature here. If you want to calculate from a previous column, you just say equals. So you type in the equals, and then you can click on something. So I want to click on that 5,000. And you can see how the 5,000 is being highlighted here, and it's got the marquee around it. And then down here it put the reference, so B1. So it's B going down B column and across 1. So it identifies that cell in particular. So it shows B1 there. So it's always going to pull it from up above to find that starting value. And then I just hit tab to get out of that cell to the next cell. And then the balance with interest, we're going to need to calculate using this formula, P times the quantity 1 plus R over N raised to the NT power. And I don't have the whole thing worked out yet, so I can put in some calculations up above. So if I calculate that whole right-hand side, let's come back to here for just a second. It's going to look like this. For say I just want to do 1 year to start with. So it'll be F equals 5,000 times the quantity 1 plus R, which is 0.06 over N, which is 1, raised to the NT. And the T is going to be, well, I could just put a T there, I guess. The T is going to be a 1 for the first time around. So inside the parentheses, I can calculate that 0.06 divided by 1 is just 0.06, plus 1 is going to be 1.06 raised to the 1 times T. Now we're going to use 1 for every year because we're going to say, okay, we've had it in for a year, how much interest do we have? Okay, we've had it in for another year. And then we'll add on like you did by hand on that poster session. And so then multiplying by that original starting amount is going to look like this. Let's go back to Excel and see if we can put all this in. What we want to do then is calculate this stuff inside the parentheses. So it's going to be, I need to do the R divided by N, and remember that was our little P. And so I can say equals R divided by N. What I'm typing here on the left, I didn't start it with an equals, so Excel just ignores it, doesn't do anything with it. It's just notes, really. So then I can here, I start with an equals. Now Excel is saying, oh, I need to pay attention to this. So we're saying equals. I want to take that rate, so I'm going to click on the rate and then put in the slash for divide. And then I want to divide by the N, which is handily right below it. So I push enter. And it came to 0.06, which really doesn't surprise us. And then now I want to have the 1 plus little p, because that's what's inside my parentheses here, this part right here. So I have, I need to tell Excel I want to calculate again, so equals, and then 1 plus, and then I don't want to type in 0.06 because what if I change my rate? I can't see anything new. So I just click on the 0.06 again, right up above, and then push enter. So now I have the 1.06. I want to show you something real quick. If I change, because of the way I set up Excel using the values in these different cells, if I change my interest rate to say 3.25% and I click enter, do you see how it recalculated the rest of them with the 3% taking that into account, or 3.25? While I'm at it, let me show you the formatting. So on this cell, I really want to see, I can see my full value up here, but what's displaying in the sheet doesn't show me my decimal places. So I can come over to here and increase the number of decimal places on that, and it'll show me the 3.25. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is here on the 5,000, that's a dollars value, right? So I can come up here and select to make it dollars and cents, and then it shows it up really nice. I want to do that down here too, so that it shows up as $5,000 and 00 cents. Okay, so far so good. I've got the inside part of my parentheses here, the 1.06. Now I just want to raise it to the 1 times 1 here, because my number of compoundings, it was annual, so I just have a 1 times 1. So it's really not going to change anything, right? Because 1 times 1 is just 1. Anything to the first power is just what you started with. The last thing I would do is multiply by the 5,000, but I'm going to hold off on that because I want to do it based down here where I find the balance with interest at the end of each year. Okay, so first year we're going to come here. I want to calculate my 5,000 times that little interest, the 1.0325. So I'm going to say equals, and then click on the 5,000, and then asterisk for times, and that's the little star thing, estrella, above the number 8 key. And so that's times, and then click up here on my 1 plus p, that's the part in my parentheses, and push enter. So now I have $5,162.50. So I know in my year 1, at the end of the first year of life, so it would be, the years of people's lives are very weird because the whole first year they're 0. And so at the end of the 0 year, we have 5,162. The end of the first year, when they're about to turn 2, then we have, I'm just going to say equals and the previous balance with the interest, because that's the starting amount for the whole year 1 of this person's life, or you, I guess, because we said it was you. Okay, so click on that. I just did equals and I click on the previous balance and then tab to move over to the other cell. And then now when I'm in this cell, I want to do that same calculation I did before, but with the balance right before me. So I'm going to say equals, because I want to calculate, click on the current balance, and then times, and then click up here on the 1 plus P. And then I'll push enter. Now, at this point, things get really easy. Okay, as long as I set up everything properly, and I'm checking to see if I did. This, I have to tell you about 2 things here, and then we'll be good to go. When I click on a cell, it'll show me in color what I have for each of the components of the calculation. And I can see B9 is right over here, and I see B5 is up here. Now I'm planning to drag down my values, and if I do that, it's going to choose the wrong values for the interest rate. So I need to come in here in the green, it shows it green here, and I'll just push F4. And it puts $B $5. Now if your F4 button doesn't work, you can just type in dollar in front of the B and dollar in front of the 5, and it'll work the same way. There's no mystery there. And then I push enter. It didn't change my calculation at all, but it'll change what happens when I drag. So what I want to do is I click on the first cell, and then I slide my mouse over 2 cells, and then I let go of the mouse button. So one more time. Click on the first cell, click and hold, slide to the right, and then release. Now I've selected my first row, or well, the first row that I can drag from. So I select this row, and then I go to the bottom right. See how I have a big white plus right now? If I have that, it's not going to drag how I want it to. So go to the very bottom right of the area that you selected until you have a little black plus, like you see I have right now. Big white, little black. I want the little black plus. Push down on the mouse and drag it down. Now remember, we wanted, do you remember how many years we wanted? I'm going to have to slide this up a little bit so we can see. I have so far 8 years. He's about to turn 9. We wanted to go to 18, 19. Okay, let's take a look at our problem again and see what we're supposed to figure out. How much is in the trust fund when you turn 18? So when he turns 18, this year is 0, he turns 1. I'm just going to do this because it's going to help me. Age at the end of the year, so at the end of this year he'll be 1, the end of this year 2, 3, etc. And then I can just select a couple of them and drag them down. So bottom right again to drag. And then, so at the end of this year, this is when he's turning 18, it looks like. So his 17th year, at the end of it, he turns 18. And so he has $8,891.83 in his account. So I can see he has $8,891. I want to put that in here somewhere. So this would be at 18. And then remember, 18 years, 10 months, we talked about that. We really don't think there's going to be any change, and we can just say and at 18 years, 10 months. And what about at 19? We have that one already too. There's at 19. It's going to be 90 or 9,180. I'm going to see if I can Control C and then Control V here to paste. Ho ho ho! I can. So now I just paste that value in, and that's at 19 years. And then we wanted to know how much would be in this account when we turn 60, which is, wow, quite a ways off. But all we have to do is select a row and drag it down, and we want it to go to 59. And you can see the little number there. Do you see it in the little box right by the bottom right? So I can see I want to go to 59 because at the end of 59, that's when you turn 60. So on his 60th birthday, this is nice. So we can see all these the pound signs over and over. That's telling you that there's not enough space to display the value. So if you come up between B and C, in between this column and the one after it, and until you see your cursor look like this, it has a straight bar and then a two-way arrow on it going sideways. So you want to see that, and when you see that, double click, and it'll automatically make your columns wide enough for whatever's being displayed in them. So you can see we have a huge value here, and here it's even bigger, where we got our interest calculated that one more time. So Control C, and come back into this file. See if I can find my cursor, it's hard to spot sometimes, and paste, and this would be when we get to 60. So we have all our values there. $8,891 if he takes the money out when he's 18, or you. 9,180 if you wait the last 2 months from when you're 18 years 10 months until you turn 19, because you're going to get a lot of interest. But if you can wait until you're 60 years old, you'll get $34,070.12. That's a lot of money. So I would wait, maybe. Okay, so the last thing that we're supposed to do, come back here one more time, plot the growth of the investment up to age 19, plot the growth up to age 60. So to do the growth, I want to come here into this file. I'm just selecting the balance after interest, and then we'll go here, insert, scatter, and then scatter with the line. So it's a second scatter plot, and there we go. We can see our age across here, and it is starting with 0, that's okay, and going up to 60, and it's showing how much money we get. And you can see it goes all the way from 5,000, that's where we're starting, right there, all the way up to 34,000 approximately. Yeah, and that matches our data. You can click here and delete, because we don't need that. And then click on the graph, and then you're going to Control C or right click and copy, and then we'll go into, you can go into a Word file, because you're going to need to do this for your homework. Go into a Word file, and then Control V to paste. And you're going to want to put, I'll click, I want to put before it, I want to say plot of investment return up to age 60. Oops. And then we'll have another plot to do too, right? I think that was age 19 for the other one. I'm going to show you the whole printout, like what you should send me, so that you don't have any questions on that. So back to Excel, if I can find it. This time, double check, we wanted to do investment growth up to age 19, so we'll double check that. I've included this graph, so I'm just going to click off of it, start back at the beginning, and go down to age 19. So remember, it's 18 over here, 19 over on the right, and then right click, and I can do insert from here, slightly different method, not what I wanted to insert, so not the method I want. So let's do, okay, so I'm just going to come up to the menu bar and say insert, scatter, the second scatter, and there it's showing me the plot up to age 19. I'll delete that series, so I just click on it and then push my delete key, And you can see that's a lot less steep for this one. Click on the chart, Control C to copy, click on where your document is, Control V as in victory to paste. And now I want to talk about this just briefly, and then I'll show you the rest of the things you should put onto your Word document that you're going to create. This investment up to the age 19, do you see how it looks kind of like a straight line? That's kind of what happens when you're looking at this function, the compound interest function. But when you look at it for a longer period of time, do you see how it's curling upwards like that on the side? That's because it's an exponential growth. Over a short period of time, like 19 years, not so much curve going up, but over 60 years, definitely there's a curve going up. And so that's telling you the longer you leave it in, the more you gain, even over just starting over with 5,000 on when you're 20 years old. So if you can leave money in, it just keeps compounding on itself over and over. Okay, so that's my investment talk for you. I want you, in this same file, I want you to go ahead and put your results from your couple of calculations that you did. So I'm going to slide this over. We can see most of it, so I can type that. I'm going to say at 18 years old, I will have 8891.83. I will have the same amount at 18 years, 10 months. So I should just wait until I am 19 years old and get 9180.81. But if I wait until 60 years old, I will have, oh my, $34,070.12. And I could come back, it would be nice if I came back and put commas in every 3 digits up from your decimal point. It's easier to read that way. So the last thing that you'll want to do is put a little bit of a heading in there, and this will be Joan Brown for Mrs. Brown's class. This is my Excel interest calculations, and maybe put compound interest. Oh. So Excel compound interest calculations. Uh-oh, my pagination got crazy. So I want to put it at least 12 point because I have old eyes. I'm going to clean it up just a little bit. I don't want those. I'm changing to 1 point space and removing the space after. Push enter, take out some of my blank lines here, see if I can get it all to fit onto one page. And there it is. Okay, so this paper then you'll want to save and send to me. I'd prefer if you could make it into a PDF. That would be fantastic. I recommend the Qt PDF Writer. You can download that. I've used it for years. There's not any worries about it loading other things onto your computer or having viruses or adware, anything like that. It's pretty reliable. So I just say print with the PDF Writer selected as the printer, and then it asks me where I want to save it, and so I'll just go into the folder I want to put it into, and we'll call this the Excel document. Excel, I maybe better call it the right thing, right? calculations. Okay, so now when I go to that folder, I'll show you that real quick. I can remember where I put it, right? Here it is, the Excel compound interest calculations. And now when I try to open it, it'll be Adobe Reader. And so I can see it like that, and when I send it in to my teacher will see it exactly like that as well. So that's the benefit of a PDF. So you should try to do that if you can, if at all possible.